So, bit of a noble statement to start off with. I think I have a better theory than the one Super Carlin Brothers came up with. Hello everyone, Garnetto here, and I am here with a Disney theory today. So, a few weeks ago, Super Carlin Brothers did a video on Tamatoa's true identity. A few months back they did one where they explained that they thought that he was reincarnated spirit, and then they went into a bit more detail a couple of weeks ago. So it was a great video. The problem is that for the great points they raised, and I will be using a fair few of those points, they go down a route which I completely disagree with. So first of all, to sum up, they argue that Tamatoa is a reincarnated spirit of the ancient people of Polynesia through a process called Moana. This is a part of Polynesian culture, so it is very fair, and most of the film is based around Polynesian culture. So yeah, there is a similarity in the names between Moana and Tamatoa. I'm going to argue that that's a bit of a weak argument, but I can definitely see that argument, because they both have the Teo and the Mo and all that lot combined in. It is a bit of a stretch, but it does work. The rest of the arguments are very good as well. According to the Teo Moana myth, evil people usually come back as dogs, deers, or coconut crabs. And the interesting point is that Tamatoa is a coconut crab. They did manage to figure that out quite well in their first video, and it is a confirmed fact by this point. So it does look like there is some pretty good links between Teo Moana and Tamatoa. The question is, assuming that is correct, who is he? Have we met him before? If so, where? And this is where I start to disagree with Jay. If we look at some of the traits to look out for, we're looking for a powerful being who collects powerful and rare artifacts, such as Maui's hook and the heart of Te Fiti, and who is searching for power. That's the thing to bear in mind, is that Tamatoa is looking for power even though he's doing it from his own sort of little corner. So the reason he is shiny is for fish dinners. So a great way to narrow it down, because that's a problem, we've got a huge range of characters in all of fiction at this point. Great way to narrow it down is that only the directors could have done this. It is an act of the directors if it is happening. So it is probably a link to one of the films that John Musker and Ron Clement have directed. So at this point, they have directed 7 films, one of them being Moana itself. The other 6 are The Great Mouse Detective, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Hercules, Treasure Planet, and Princess and the Frog. Jay goes on to argue Ursula, but I feel that the points he used to narrow it down from those 6 films are very weak, not relevant. I think that he was doing it because he had this specific idea and then grew from there. Whereas I think that he missed quite a few things, and a few of them are a stretch. First of all, the argument he uses is that Tamatoa has 8 legs, not 10. And Ursula also has 8 limbs. I don't think that really works that well, for 2 reasons. First thing, if we look at Grandma, the other example of reincarnated spirits in the film, although I think it's a different process, but still, the other example we have, she turns from a human to a manta ray. They don't have the same amount of limbs. Then there is also the fact that coconut crab physiology, coconut crab physiology, 2 of the legs are constantly hidden. They have 10 legs, normally have 10 legs, but 2 of them are hidden away unless they are mating, basically. So there would only be 8 legs visible in the scene that we actually see him in, which there is 8 legs visible. We see 8 and, 7 and a stump leg, which was explained by Maui having chopped it off. So yeah, when we see Tamatoa, he has no intention of mating, so those legs would remain hidden. So I don't think that the limbs number have anything to do with it. He does add that both Tamatoa and Ursula are purple, which falls into the same counter argument. A manta ray and Grandma are not sort of purple. It just seems a bit odd. He also basically ignores the gender change, which I agree with. I think that the gender change wouldn't be relevant in the slightest, but it's sort of like, it's one of them. I don't think that any of these are a factor. So yeah. Jay's other argument is the 4th wall break during the post-credit scene. Tamatoa references Sebastian.
Can we be real? If my name was Sebastian and I had a cool Jamaican accent, you'd totally help me. You would, you know you would.
But post-credit scenes are bad enough. Fourth wall breaks are even worse. During fourth wall breaks, they will almost always not. If you're capable of doing a fourth wall breaking fiction, you know everything. You know you're in a film. You know other films. That's sort of the whole point of a fourth wall break. So his fourth wall breaking is interesting and noteworthy, and we'll come back to that later. But I don't think it's really an argument for he knows Sebastian, basically. Another counter argument is the timeline. Little Mermaid is clearly ahead of Moana, which is kind of ironic, bearing in mind the time gap between the two films. Moana is about the long pause in Polynesian expansion, which ended at around about 500 AD. There is an argument about how Moana... Jay used an argument about how Moana's tech was sort of lost in time. The island was lost in time for 1,000 years. But even then, Tamatoa was around 1,000 years ago. So it's still going to be the case that the time that Moana stopped traveling, Tamatoa was around. So it's got to be before that. Now, if we use that argument, we can actually eliminate quite a few of the films I mentioned beforehand. Great Mouse Detective, Treasure Planet, Princess and the Frog, and Little Mermaid are all too late. There are only two films set in ancient times which could fit. Aladdin and Hercules, and yes, I am not counting the whole it's all set in the future theory for Aladdin. That is a very different theory. If you want me to debunk it, I will, but that is a whole different video. But still, yeah, Aladdin and Hercules are the only remaining films that are set in ancient times, so remotely plausible to the timeline. Jay also makes some good points which will help us narrow it down even further. For example, Tamatoa is trying to collect rare and powerful objects. Again, Maui's her heart of Tafiti, and shiny things so that he can trick fish into literally dropping into his mouth. He uses the argument that Ursula does this with the trident, but that's not quite right for me. That is one object to get one goal. However, there is another person in Aladdin or Hercules who does seek objects of power, such as sands of time, magical staffs, and genie lamps, all of which give the holder power. Yes, I am of course talking about Jafar from Aladdin.
I believe it's me.
The timeline fits, the premise fits, the obsession with power and items that give power fits, the directors fit, but there's even more. As we know, Tamatoa wasn't always this glam. He was a drab little crab once. And the same story goes for Jafar, actually. His backstory was he was raised in poverty, and after a life of being put down, sought power, using objects and any means necessary to get power. Just like Tamatoa, to be fair. From what we hear in his backstory, he was a smaller person. He didn't have any power, and then he sought objects to get power. Another thing to note is one of Jafar's key weaknesses. He always needs more. He rose to be the Sultan's most trusted advisor, yet he has to be Sultan. Once he becomes Sultan, he has to have Jasmine. He needs to become more powerful than the genie. He has to be the most powerful person in the world. He always has to. And that's his downfall, and Tamatoa is the same. He's so shiny and powerful, yet he still needs more. Show him something shiny and he will go chasing after it. The perfect diversion. Show him the heart of Tafiti, he will run after it in the complete wrong direction, hungry for more power. Also, we've got to remember that when Jafar dies in The Return of Jafar, Jafar is actually a genie, as powerful as a god.
Universe is mine to command, to control!
This last one's a teensy bit of a stretch, but to be honest, I don't think I really need it. But there is a link to Tamatoa's ability to break the fourth wall. Although Jafar himself doesn't really break the fourth wall, the genie is the king of fourth wall breaks.
Made you look.
There is a whole theory about how Aladdin's set in the future because Genie breaks the fourth wall so much. It's possible that any genie could do that, but Jafar was such a young genie when he passed away that he didn't actually know how to do that. He hadn't unlocked that talent yet. Now, if only Tamatoa had gotten some of the artifacts that Jafar had gotten, that would really cement this, because it would show that he was still searching after the same object of Jafar. That is correct. If you look very, very closely, you can actually see the genie's lamp on Tamatoa's back. And he also calls himself the Diamond in the Rough during the Shiny song.
Watch me dazzle like a diamond in the rough.
So, and that's what Jafar really wanted, to be the most powerful and respected of them all. To be the diamond in the world of the rough. To be the thing that shines when everything else around him doesn't. That was Jafar's real goal, and that is Tamatoa's real goal. So that's just my theory. I really think that it is very good. I think that it is very spot on, and I can't think of any other character that fits better than that. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you think I'm right? Do you think the Super Carlin Brothers are right? Do you have your own theory? Let me know, and I'll see you next time.